Welcome to the Process Podcast.
From new agent to broker owner.
My name is Travis McClure. This is my co-host, Preston Guyton. Welcome to the Process Podcast. This is Travis McClure along with my co-host, Preston Guyton. Preston, how you doing today?
Good, man. Good. I took it off running today because I ran extra far yesterday because of an audiobook you told me to listen to.
What are you listening to now?
Cameron Haynes. What is it?
Endure?
Endure. That's it. Yeah. I knew the name of the author, and yeah, it's a really good one. Yeah. So I was on like mile 4 and I was like, yeah, he's talking about running 50 miles. So I'm like, man, I got to go a little bit further. 4 miles don't stack up.
Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
All right. I want to introduce our guest today is Dan Corkill from Follow Up Boss. Dan, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing awesome. I follow Cameron on Instagram, and yeah, he looks like he's a hardcore runner and hunter and all the stuff he does.
Yeah, his story is amazing. It's pretty. He shares some insane things in that audio in the book, or whether you read it or you listen to it. It's it makes you feel lazy no matter what level of athlete you're at.
I definitely questioned whether or not I was working hard enough at anything after listening to that book.
He lives down in Medellin. Nelson is his name. He actually runs Agent Fire, another product in the real estate space. They build websites for agents. And he just released a video on YouTube of his daily routine. And it's pretty nuts. I'll send you guys later. He has like 4 showers a day because he's doing like, I don't know, boxing and salsa dancing and like all this just crazy stuff. And same thing. I watched it. I'm like, man, I'm not doing enough stuff. I need to get some boxing and running and things in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, Cameron Haynes, one of the things he talks about is sometimes in the morning, he'll just before work, he'll wake up and run a marathon and then get ready to go to work. So he wakes up and starts running 3 a.m?
Yeah.
And we'll run a marathon distance and then get ready and go to work and then come back home after work and work out. It's nuts. It's crazy.
It is crazy. And I think about like running a marathon. There's people like literally there's 16-week training programs for a single person like run a marathon. And for him, it's part of he runs like 3 a week. This guy. You just think about like, it just makes me think like the human body literally is capable of anything you put your mind to it. But Dan, let's talk about Follow Up Boss. That's a tool Preston and I have talked about in other episodes. As a company here, Palms Realty, Easy Home Search, we're extremely passionate about. Our agents use it day in and day out. Tell us the story of Follow Up Boss, Dan. How'd you get started along that path with Follow Up Boss?
Yeah, so I guess like most entrepreneurs, like back in the day, I was working for someone and I kind of like identified maybe like I wanted to do my own thing. So I was kind of like working for someone, but I was really like learning a lot of stuff in that job, like about marketing and online marketing and systems and just, just general business skills, I guess, as well. So I wasn't making a lot of money. And then this was sort of around 2010, 2011, when really I thought, okay, like I'd been reading a lot of like content online, listening to guys like Tim Ferriss and, a bunch of other people like Basecamp guys and stuff like that. And I was kind of like, well, not getting any younger, and I don't think I want to work for someone, forever. So like, let's sort of give this entrepreneurship thing more of a shot. And so, my plan was to kind of quit my job and go and travel in Europe essentially. And I didn't have much of a plan beyond that. And my co-founder, Tom, who I actually used to work with, he's like, damn, why don't we start a software company? And, I was like, okay, I've got nothing else really going for me work-wise. Like, let's give it a shot. And I knew he was an awesome engineer. And so I just thought it was a great opportunity. I actually bought like this thick book on like PHP on like how to code. And I'm just like, I'm not going to be needing this bad boy anymore. So I kind of knew I wanted to do in the software space, I think. And then, a kind of original idea was like, we saw at the time there was like Salesforce for like enterprise. And then there were things like Infusionsoft for small businesses, but it really like too confusing of a product. It was more aimed at like internet marketers at the time and like, people doing advanced email marketing, things like that. It was way too complex for like, the average real estate business or, any small business really. Like you would need a consultant and all this kind of stuff. So we just thought like there must be something where, it's not enterprise and it's not complicated and it could be simpler. And then a lot of the simple solutions we saw out there were too simple. Like you couldn't even search by email address, like crazy stuff like that. And so we just thought there has to be something in the middle there where like, you know, we can solve a lot of these problems small businesses are having without sort of making it so complicated that, you know, they're not going to be able to set it up or, you know, use it and that kind of thing.
So what led you to the path of, okay, we have this idea for a business. Let's find our perfect customer. Real estate seems like the perfect customer for us to market this to. Like, what led you down that path?
Yeah, so we kind of had been building it for about 6 months, and you know, I was kind of traveling a fair bit at this time, and like, so it wasn't like, let's say 100% like just working on follow-up bus every day, but like still definitely working on it. But we didn't really have any customers, right? So it's like we didn't really have anyone to like, you know, serve or do customer support for. We kind of had the start of this tool, which itself, because development takes a long time, it was also pretty basic. You know, like there was no reason really that anyone would switch from their current CRM to like what we had. So I think what I really identified was like we needed to niche down and find like a niche we could serve, like real estate. And we ended up doing a course called The Foundation, which they teach a lot of sort of like product development skills and understanding what the market wants, you know, because a lot of entrepreneurs, I think the mistake they make is they build what they want, you know. So let's say like Preston likes running, so he builds like a running coaching business or something, but like maybe people don't want to learn that. Maybe they want to learn how to make more money.
I don't like it. I'm learning to like it, but yeah, that's not for me.
All right, Preston maybe likes yoga or something more, but like people just start things that they like, you know, but there may not necessarily be a market for that. Like people may like boxing more in your suburb or whatever. So, you know, you just got to decide. I think that's like a mistake people make. And so really what then I tried to do was to talk to a lot of people in the real estate space and understand what their problems were. And so like, you know, I'd be trying to get in contact with them, you know, through just like sending them an email saying, hey, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to solve problems in this space. I'm thinking of building a software. Can we just chat for like 20 minutes? And, you know, I just want to find out a bit more about your business. Like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. So that's a big difference, is like, you're not trying to sell anything at this stage. Your only goal is to learn from people what their problems are. Right. And yeah, after talking to like maybe 10 people, just randomly one guy emailed me one day. His name was Marty, and he was from Lake of the Ozarks. So I don't know if any of you guys watched that show Ozark, but I thought that was pretty funny. And he's like, Dan, like my biggest problem is I'm paying for all these leads online from like Zillow and Realtor.com, and I'm sending them to my agents, and then I have no idea what happens after that. And then so once like he emailed me that, I'm like, oh wow, like that sounds like a pretty big problem, right? Because it's painful, like you're spending money. You have no visibility. You know, you kind of feel bad because like you're getting that bill every month, but you don't know if any of those deals are closing. And in reality, like there was just, yeah, total lack of follow-up really happening. And so, yeah, you know, once we sort of, I don't know, like to me, then I sort of started doing like a lot of research, like, well, what else is there out there in the market? So I'd be talking to people and like, okay, you say you're paying for Top Producer, which is probably the biggest CRM at the time. And then every single person, I would be like, okay, just tell me how you use it, or like, you know, what you like about it. And just a lot of people just never use it. Like they just kind of laugh. They're like, oh, I logged in like 2 months ago. And, you know, so basically, yeah, I just sort of realized, well, that's also like a really positive sign that people are paying for something and they don't even necessarily like, it's not necessarily solving their problem that they have. So that, you know, that's a really good like validation that if I could build something in the space that even was a little bit better, right, then you would think that people would also want to pay for that. So yeah, just doing a lot of research then. I also did some research into like, you know, the public companies like Zillow and so on, just to sort of understand like how big is the market, like how much, you know, how many leads are these guys selling to real estate agents? And yeah, so there's a lot of just talking to people and then research, and then, yeah, just looking what else is out there. And yeah, I just really didn't find much for doing what we do, which is kind of like really bringing all the leads into one place. And, you know, now 10 years later, there's lots of systems that can do that. But at the time, like, it was very, very rare.
So you started what, 2012? Is that right?
2011. So it was like that
Yeah.
year, like again, we probably didn't have any customers. Maybe towards the end of the year, I think I got a few people on the system just testing it. Tyler is actually a broker up in Ohio. He was actually our first, like, I think, tester and also customer. The original guy that actually gave me the idea, funnily enough, he didn't sign up because we just weren't really ready at that time. So, but he signed up like 5 years later. So I thought that was also kind of cool. But yeah, 2011. But yeah, we just didn't really, 2012, we definitely started getting a few more customers, and kind of like we're talking about with podcasts, right? Like it starts very slow. It's like me and my wife are literally celebrating every customer we got. We'd be like, all right, we're up to 9, we're up to 12. Like, so it was, it starts off slow and then, picks up steam.
So the initial one, the Follow Up Boss, how many, there's been Follow Up Boss 1, 2, because when I joined, it was the older version. I think it might've been 2015, maybe. When did it switch over to the newer version?
I think 2016, but I could
Yeah.
be wrong on that.
Yeah. So that's because I remember it might have been 2014 when I joined, but it was funny, like looking back and seeing some of the complaints, when it switched to the newer version. It was like, oh, the other version was so much prettier. It had more color. I don't know if you remember those or not, but I just remember.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like,
It's definitely, yeah. So you had this classic version of the software, and a lot of people were used to it. And like, I think, it's like when Facebook changes their design, like everyone's really mad. I think what we did was kind of probably a mistake, because we actually let people toggle back and forth. So you could go into the second version, then you could just come back to the classic. And so the problem with that approach is people just want to stick with what they're used to. So even if there are some benefits to switching, so if I did it again, I would make it more of like, okay, you can switch or you can stay on the current version, And honestly, to this day, there's still a few people that use that classic version. And, it doesn't have anything in there really, like texting, calling, but again, just people, if it's solving a problem for them and they're used to that workflow and they're happy, like, then that's cool. I don't think there's any need to take it away from them. So
does it become an issue like updating both of those systems, or not really?
not really. So we run, it's actually the same back end. So we didn't rewrite the back end. We only rewrote the front end. So that's why you can switch so seamlessly between 1 and 2, right? Because it's all the same data on the back end. So yeah, it's really like not much work, if any, on a monthly basis. Yeah.
Okay.
So as a business owner, what kind of things did you learn over the years? Because Follow Up Boss then kind of took off and it's grown pretty quickly. What kind of things did you learn as the company grew, as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think, I never really had a management. I don't think so. I know it wasn't really a manager when I worked in the workplace before, like I'd sort of, mostly been in like individual contributor roles and certainly like part of teams and all that kind of stuff. But I never had to manage people. So I would say like I was a pretty bad manager. And I think, I don't know, like a lot of entrepreneurs don't really like, it's not really what they're super passionate about. Like now as the company's grown, we've hired people that are actually like, professional managers and really good at it and they really enjoy it. So I think just learning the people side of it, and I would say I'm still learning, it's sort of like software is like this very predictable thing. Like there's some code and like, the result comes out the same, like even if you run the same piece of code like 1,000 times, but like humans have so many, different complicated things going on, right? So the people side of it, I think also because we were getting started, like we self-funded the company. We didn't raise like VC capital or anything. So I would say in a lot of places we could have hired more aggressively and also hired people which were, kind of experts, or maybe they'd done the job before. I think at the start I was like, okay, like you sound really great. Like let's bring you in here and put you in this role. And I don't know. I think in some ways that can be good, like when you're very small, like 10 people, but it can also be a challenge as well because, I don't know what they need to be doing, honestly, because I'm still learning as an entrepreneur and building the business. And then they also don't know, and it's kind of like, that's not the best combination. So yeah, I think in some places, like we could have hired faster and also just like raised like, like the level of who we were getting. But I think again, it's sort of, that's a little bit easy in hindsight. Like definitely if I started another business, I would just be like hiring so much faster and really clear on like who to hire, a lot earlier. And then the other thing I think we learned is like me and my co-founder sort of had this theory of like, we don't actually need to focus a lot on marketing. Like, let's just focus a lot on the product and customer service, and like just making both of those things really good. And then people will market for us. Like Preston, I don't know how many people Preston's told. He was just telling me about Martin, who he introduced me to before, who is also now using Follow Up. So again, like I do think there's sort of, I guess that was a theory we had, and we'd sort of seen it work for other businesses, but I guess we're really happy to see that it worked for us. And I definitely think marketing is super important in any business, but it wasn't something where we spent a lot of time on like traditional things like, or, PPC, going to events, like sponsorships. We really just tried to focus all our energy on making the product better. And yeah, just trying to have the best product and service. So yeah, I was happy to see that worked, I guess.
Yeah, I remember you guys going to some of the REW summits. I think that's where maybe Chicago, maybe one there. But those, and for me, I like to share what works to other people. So you have the people that are willing to share and to share what's working, and then you have the ones that are scared to share what you're using because they feel like you're giving up a secret or whatever. But I've always been an advocate of sharing things that work and what's the best. And for me, it's all, Follow Up Boss. I said it on other podcasts. There's, in the real estate space, for me, there's not a better solution because, I could dive really deep into it and do a lot of things that I need to do. And then somebody that's not that tech savvy can get in there and use it. And it's simple to use, so for us, it's definitely, where we'll always be.
Yeah. When you share like that, people are going to be willing to share back with you as well. That's where masterminding comes from. Dan, I think about this too. And I think I've heard you say it before. At some point, you decided to invest in business coaching as well. What made you decide on that? At what point in your journey you say, "Hey, we need some sort of coach to help us along the way"?
Yeah. So like even like when we were getting started, the course I mentioned before called the Foundation, like that was sort of like, wasn't one-on-one coaching, but it was like a group class sort of coaching environment. I think those kind of things are great because you're going through like a cohort with other students, and there's sort of like, there's some competition, right? Like, because there was another guy in there from New Zealand and he already had 10 customers and I had 0, so I'm like, why is this Kiwi, beating me? So
You
I
just call
think that, yeah, that's what we call them, the New Zealanders.
We actually have
a bit of a
working for us now.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, a little bit of Australian New Zealand rivalry, but yeah, it's sort of like that can be a great way to learn. But yeah, sort of as I got a bit further in the journey, I would say like I probably should have had a business coach like much earlier. I was lucky enough to hook up with someone actually from Australia as well, who had founded a company in the US called Big Commerce. And that was like a real, like, I mean, it still is a really big software company. They're essentially like the number 2 like e-commerce platform online next to Shopify. And yeah, just doing one-on-one coaching with him was really good because he'd sort of seen everything that, all the problems that I was having. He'd seen them before and he knew sort of what to do. And so I kind of, it's always like, I think in business, you can work anything out. Like entrepreneurs are like good problem solvers generally. But if you could just have someone that can give you the answer, like, oh yeah, Dan, like you're spending so much time on this because you didn't hire this person. You know what I mean? Like, let's just hire that person. So it's really good. And then I also think it's sort of a mindset thing as well. Like I'd seen him, that company eventually IPO'd and that kind of thing. And so he was always setting a little bit of a bigger vision for what we could be, like he was always telling me like, hey, you guys can be $100 million company. You could be $100 million company. And this is when like we weren't that. And he, so there's sort of like, I think a lot of, yeah, just sort of like motivation and encouragement, which again, I think sometimes entrepreneurs that are out there by themselves, like they're dealing with problems all day and customers and their team. And there's often not that person saying, hey, this can be really big. Like you're doing the right things, like you're on the right track. And so, I think like I liked it a lot because he was he was a good operator, like very tactical. But then also I do think there's like that encouragement and motivation factor as well. And then, I also actually had another coach who was also Australian, I guess where I get all my coaches. But basically, he ran a program called Silver Circle. His name's James. And even before actually I started coaching with him, I learned a lot from him about online marketing and business and just sort of like the fundamentals of business, if that makes sense. Because there's sort of like, there's these gurus or internet marketers. It's sort of died down a little bit in some ways, I guess, but like, especially maybe 5-10 years ago, there's a lot of people that are all about like big launches and internet marketing and like affiliates, and it's just a really big scene. And he was sort of I think he had more of a traditional background, and he was able to combine those business fundamentals with the new world of online marketing. So again, like, I don't know, I do think you've got to learn from people. Like, you can learn some stuff yourself, but it's often like the harder way to do it.
Yeah, you either coach with people or take a lot of bumps and bruises. And for me, I've started 3 different. This is Palms' third company with Easy Home Search, and the one thing I have learned is you can't hire leadership fast enough. Like that's something for us at Palms we focused on, and we hired leadership pretty quickly, and we have head of operations, and we hired head of agent training and development. And we hired, somebody in recruiting within the first 8 months. And that's something that when you're launching a new company and you understand that leadership when you've been through it, or if you're working with a coach.
I think good entrepreneurs also, guys, and Preston does a really good job at this. And listening to you, Dan, I've listened to a few of your interviews, and I think you do a great job as well. Is good entrepreneurs are really self-aware of what they're not good at, which is hard for a lot of people. And you hire those people to like do what I don't have that skill set in. Because when you don't, as an entrepreneur, you end up working in your business instead of on your business. And you end up kind of too deep in the weeds of the stuff you're not really good at or not passionate about. A lot of times you get burnt out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think another thing which tripped me up is like, because I'm, all of us are probably very entrepreneurially minded. And I used to think like, well, why do we need managers? Like, can't everyone just think like me? Like, if there's a problem, just solve it. You know what I mean? It's still sometimes today, like, it's sort of, there is a different employee and entrepreneur mindset. There's different things that they value. Like, employees value like security, like consistency, like, all these kind of things. And so that tripped me up a little bit. And I didn't hire managers and sort of leaders early enough. So yeah, that's smart precedent. And again, like, I would do it differently, I guess, in future. So.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like, there wouldn't be, if everybody could hold themselves accountable and do the work, they wouldn't need accountability coaches and everything else. It's definitely, you got to think that a lot of people aren't like you. You know what I mean? They're not going to do the things where you just go in there and figure it out or do it. For me, I'll just do it. A lot of people aren't like that.
Dan, one of the things I love about Follow Up Boss, especially with our company, we have a lot of tech tools, and it seems like Follow Up Boss pretty much works with all of them in one way, shape, or form. What made you decide to open up Follow Up Boss to other developers in that way? Because that was pretty new concept for real estate CRMs at the time.
Yeah, I don't think really anyone had an API at the time. Even 10 years ago, like, none of the big companies like Zillow even had one. And so it wasn't like any kind of like radical new thing we invented, I guess. It's just like, I've used tons of different software tools. And so like, I kind of know what good software looks like and what practices they have. So like, I mean, most tools have a free trial, and so like, we're like, of course, we're going to have a free trial. Like, we want people to try the product. We don't want to like trick them into buying it or something. And then it's like, well, most good tools also have an API, like, because, and it was sort of, we didn't really know, like, that's been really successful for us. Like, we didn't really know at the time, like, well, how many people would want to build against it? Like, my co-founder was kind of like, well, is there people ready to use it now? Because you always got to prioritize what you're working on. But I don't know, like, I did see like a way for us to, attract developers. And just what's interesting, like, with a business like you guys, and sort of like more power users, is that you have like these real estate teams that even are hiring developers and developing against it. I think Preston, I introduced you to my buddy Eric here in Austin, and he's always building things against our API, integrating, building his own tools. And so that's really cool to see as well, you know, so it's not just other companies, but it's actually our clients, you know, utilizing these things. Yeah, so I don't know. We just thought like, okay, we want to follow this SaaS model, I suppose I would call it. And yeah, just do as the best SaaS companies do.
Yeah, and that's something you talk about that like with our next. So we're doing a custom, basically working on a custom website for Easy Home Search because our traffic is getting to a point where we need to move to something, and that's something that I sent to them when we're getting the quotes on it as far as everything, be able to log into Follow Up Boss, and within Follow Up Boss be able to change the save searches and all that. Because a lot of times with the agents, if they're just working inside of Follow Up Boss, then, you know, they're like, oh, you got to log in over here and, you know, change the save search. So that's something that we want to have, you know, that was part of getting the quoting it out, and everything else was making sure we had that built inside of there, which I think is what Eric did as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Yeah, I think we're starting to see a few more people do that with safe searches. I think Ylopo actually just sent us like their mock-up for like what they're doing with it. And I guess for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, like, I guess like we can have these embedded apps inside Follow Up Boss. So like your agents don't even need to go to a different system. They can, like one of the integrations is like with AM cards. So you can send a little postcard to someone, you can write a little personal message and send it direct from Follow Up Boss. But that's not functionality that we built. It's like AM cards built that, and they just allow that to show up in the right place in Follow Up Boss, which again, it's not like a concept we invented, but I hadn't seen anyone do it in the real estate space. And I'm like, why is no one doing this? You know, like this makes so much sense. It's gonna, you know, make the workflow way better for agents. So again, it's kind of cool to see individual teams doing that as well, because yeah, it really does let you build exactly what you want inside Follow Up Boss, which, you know, we can't do for every single customer, right? So yeah, it's definitely cool to see people leveraging that.
Dan, what advice would you give an agent? There's a lot of tools out there, right? A ton of tools, ton of CRMs now in the space. What advice would you give an agent shopping around looking for that perfect CRM to grow their business over time? If they didn't have one, if their company didn't supply one, or if they're a smaller company, what advice would you give?
Go to followupboss.com.
7-day trial.
That's the easy answer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a few things. Like, I definitely think you want to try and do a free trial of the software that is like your front runner. Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of agents are time poor though. So again, if you don't have a lot of time, I think I would be really trying to leverage your network and people, you know, Facebook groups, and just seeing what people are liking. I think that's good to include in the research. I was actually going to make this, I may still do it at some stage, like a really good way to vet companies, because I don't think people do enough vetting of the company they're going with. So like, for example, like I'd see a lot of people signing up for some systems, which are no longer really around. And there's just pretty simple things you can do to sort of understand like their funding, like who owns them, you know, what's their plans? Are they going to continue running the business? Or are they looking to sell the business? But even without going that deep, I think there's like just checking reviews, making sure that customer service is good. You know, so you know, these things, I think the more you can get it right the first time, then the less, you know, the less pain you're going to have when, you know, you buy something and then try to implement it and realize it's going to be too hard, or that they don't have enough customer service, or whatever, you know, whatever the case may be. So yeah, but I don't know, again, like and also I think what we've benefited from as a company, again, is that sort of masterminding. Like in real estate, everyone generally knows a lot of other people. So I would just, you know, ask people that you trust, and maybe also that have a business that's kind of like where you want to be, right? So definitely see some people that are like, hey, I want to be like Preston, so I'm just going to buy whatever Preston bought. But you got to realize, like, it's not just buying the software that, you know, makes up the, you know, the business. So, you know, you kind of want to maybe try and match what you're trying to do with like the software and someone that's already like gone down that path.
I think a good question too for people to ask themselves is, when you're looking at CRMs, look at the CRM that wants to be the best CRM. Mm-hmm. You know, they want to be the best CRM. They don't want to try to, you know, do IDX listings and do all, you know, they want to be great at being a CRM, which you guys are great at. And then you have all these API integrations that they could add on and easily add on. So for me, it's like, I want somebody that wants to be the best at being a CRM. That's it. They're not trying to, be in something else. And you see that a lot where, more so on the real estate side, where a real estate website, all of a sudden they're trying to build this massive CRM. And then the front end site, isn't as great as it used to be 3 years ago because they put all this focus on something else. So for me, I think it's when you're asking that question, which CRM is the best CRM, and they're continuing to grow and evolve and everything else.
Speaking of evolving, Follow Boss has done a great job evolving over time. That's one of the things I love about it. If you look, if you can go back and watch old like YouTube videos or something like that from day one to what it is today. What's Follow Boss look like in the future? What are the plans you have for the company going forward? I know you shared some stuff, some integrations and stuff, but what's that look like for you, like as you guys, the journey progresses?
Yeah, so it's like we're really like a very customer focused company. So we just want to help our customers win, help you guys make more sales essentially. I think what maybe we didn't do enough of in the past, or really any of, and we've really been changing over the last year, is like doing more events. So we're running masterminds. Like we've got a mastermind in Atlanta next week, and later this year we've got our FubCon, which is in November 8th to 10th, and it's going to be like, it's going to be a big event. We're going to have lots of great speakers there, both customers and coaches from the industry. And I think just sort of that our goal of sort of like trying to help our customers win. Before it was like very focused on like, let's just build great software and support it and all that kind of stuff. I think we really realized though, like obviously we've always known this, but like it's like, well, how can we help, bring the community together, build the community, and incorporate education more? Because what's interesting as the owner here, like I get to see some of our clients that are mega successful. They've got these $1 billion brokerages and so on, or they're making hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever the case may be. And then we've got these single agents that have exactly the same software, right? So it's like there's no different in the tools that you've got, but there's like a drastic difference in results. And I think it's there's just a lot of an education component there, and sort of like, again, like how can we help the community help each other, and sort of facilitate that. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do a lot more on with education and community, and then just really trying to do a lot more of just building the team and building an even better product. So we're about 90 people now. Which I think we do have like a really good team, but it's sort of like this never-ending journey, right? Like how do we keep bringing on more of the right people, make sure people are in the right positions, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know, we're excited right now. Like we're really focused on the real estate side of things. 99% of our customers are in real estate, but yeah, we're starting to get these other customers that are in mortgage and in roofing, and like we even had like a bunch of gyms sign up. There was like some gym coach like recommending us for a while. So that's also exciting to see, like what other industries we could maybe serve, or maybe how can serve international clients a bit more. But yeah, just keep evolving. Like it's one thing which I don't know, like a lot of business books and so on, they're like, hey, you need to have all these quarterly goals and this and that. Definitely for like the first probably 7-8 years of the company, we had none of that. I was just like, let's just, we were very focused on just executing. Now we definitely do have some more structure. And again, I think there's a reason why you need structure, and, again, like these different management, setups and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think, again, it's sort of like what's interesting about advice or like a way to do things. Sometimes it's like relevant for the stage of a company or even the type of a company. Because we're remote, I think that also played into a lot of like, we just need the right people. We need to trust them and get them focused on, the right things. Do we need a quarterly plan? Like, I don't know. For a long time, like we just didn't have a lot of that traditional management stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the educating is definitely important because, I mean, like all softwares, and you being in software for a long time know this, most people use 20% of it, right? So same thing with Follow Boss. I mean, most people don't get in there and dig in. And the times we're in when you're looking at, what expenses make sense, for me, like I've talked to several companies where I taught them some things in Follow Boss, and they realized they didn't need these other things, so they saved a couple $100 a month. So that's, educating people, because even with the iPhone or whatever phone you use, I mean, most people only use it to 20%, 30%, if that. I think
Right.
Boss is the same thing. Like I went into inboxes and all these things with a team, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" So it's the capabilities that are with Follow Boss and what you can do. I mean, the sky's the limit, and I just don't think a lot of people really dig that deep into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think there's some things like that. Like the inbox is a good one where like that probably is on us to keep doing more education to people and keep telling them, like keep reminding them. Sometimes it's interesting, like building software, it's like you're sometimes focused on adding that extra feature where you really just need to go back and make sure, hey, you guys aren't using these features. And so as our product's grown over time, it's definitely something where, yeah, we're just more aware of that. And like a lot of what we are going to focus on as well is like, how do we go back and redesign features like the inbox and the calendar and, make them better and also easier to understand and maybe get more people activated and using them. So
Yeah, I mean, like even like the ponds. I mean, there's so many different things that from a growing them standpoint and things. I have a ton of ideas for Follow Boss if they want to listen. But the ponds, there's so much, there's so many great things within there that you can just expand on. Where it's kind of like agents. A lot of times they chase a new shiny object. Well, the object's already there. You just got to expand on it and make it better.
Yeah, for sure. I'll hit you up for some of those ideas.
Dan, what advice would you have for a brand new entrepreneur, just in general, any industry? Because listening to you, I love that you say, "Hey, we did this, but if I could do it again," I mean, you've learned a lot, right? Say sometimes taking a harder path, like we all do. What advice would you have for a brand new entrepreneur just getting started today?
Yeah, I think like one other benefit of like when I went overseas was sort of just getting my mindset out of the regular mindset, because if you're just going to a job every day and maybe like everyone around you has jobs and they're not entrepreneurs, it's very hard to think, you sort of do become the people around you, you know what I mean? So I would just say like find some way to get around more entrepreneurs, like maybe meetup.com, or I mean, consider moving cities. It doesn't have to be overseas, but maybe there's some way you could move within the US. I definitely think you want to try and get outside of like your regular environment, just to sort of expand your mind to what's possible. I think, if you don't do that, then I think it's just tricky, right? I would definitely pay for education. Like if you could do some kind of cohort-based course, if you could get a coach at some point, websites like Udemy or even YouTube, right, which is obviously free. There's so much like crazy information on there now, but try and do, I think, some kind of structured course, I think would be good, just to sort of like, okay, if you need more sales skills or marketing skills or whatever the case may be. I think trying to just learn it faster. I would definitely consider working for someone as well. And like, don't worry about what you're getting paid. Like what you're trying to get out of it is to learn the skills. I think that's something that, I try and explain to my team, and is like, that's what I want people to get out of working here more than anything, is just build the skills. And then you can do whatever you want. If you want to move up here, if you want to go somewhere else, you want to start your own business, like the more skills you have, like that's future money basically. I think sometimes people are just focused on like just too short term in general, so try and think a bit more long term, like what skills are you going to really need to develop. And then, yeah, I don't know, like the other big thing I think is like when you become an entrepreneur, you're really switching from like being a consumer of society to being a producer, and that's a big switch. So yeah, I would just be thinking about, well, how can you ramp down things like your expenses? How can you maybe really looking at like, how can you put your time and money into like building something instead of just like, I don't know, buying the latest watch or whatever people buy, So yeah, have some delayed gratification and yeah, just switch that mindset. I think one of the books I really liked, I think it's called The Millionaire Fast Lane. That's like really scammy title, but like the book is really good. It talks about like a lot of concepts of entrepreneurship and how it's very different from having a job, And I think it has a few different books like Escape the Rat Race and stuff like this as well. But that was one I really liked.
So the follow-up BossCon, where is that going to be located? You said November 8th and 9th?
Yeah, I think it's going to be November 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Okay.
It's going to be in Vegas at the Cosmopolitan. So we went and checked out the stage about a month ago. It's insane. So this is like where, like, say Kevin Hart goes to, like, do a comedy set in Vegas. Like, this is where he'll perform. So it's not like if you just go to like most real estate conferences, like there's a hall and a stage. You know what I mean? Like, there's actually like theater style seating. There's this crazy like screen behind the stage. Yeah, you can have like smoke and firework effects and all that stuff. So anyway, it's just this insanely cool theater. The Cosmopolitan is like pretty much my favorite hotel in Vegas because it has balconies and just a really nice hotel. So yeah, that's where it's going to be. Definitely block those dates. I think in about the next week, we're going to have the website up and let people start booking. And yeah, the ticket price is actually going to include your hotel room. So yeah, we just hope to see a lot of follow-up bus customers there. I mean, that's definitely like, actually that, I don't know, just to end on something, because like I could never run this event by myself, like, or without the right people on our team. So in the last year, we hired 2 people, Ricardo and Stacy, which are just total badasses at events, like they love it and they're really good at it. But like, this is just something we couldn't execute without them, because most of the people in our company, including myself, are like introverted, right? Like, we don't want to be at events networking with people, whereas these guys, like, it really energizes them. And Ricardo has like 10 years of experience running events. So yeah, we're really excited, I guess, about these masterminds and the big FubCon. And I think the other thing about Ricardo is always trying to make them one better. So like, since I started working with him, we've just been moving up and up and up. And so this is kind of going to be like, FubCon should be really good. We're trying to make it very different to other real estate conferences and just almost do everything better. And that's really our goal, I suppose.
So I'm going to go ahead and publicly declare, because my wife can't say no, that I'm going in November. When she watches this and says I say it on here, that I'm definitely going.
Yeah, bring her.
I would go to Atlanta next week, but I want to be in Vegas for a Chap-like event. So, but if I didn't have that, I'd be in Atlanta.
So Preston just publicly declared that I'm also going to Vegas in November. If my wife watches this, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you guys should definitely come. And like I was saying, like, I would bring your wives. Like, there's lots of cool stuff to do there. Like, maybe we can get some blowouts at, the blowout bar that's down there, get a massage or something like that. So yeah, we're trying to like keep everyone entertained. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff there. I think my wife will probably come. For some weird reason, she likes Vegas. So yeah.
All right, Dan. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We look forward to seeing you in November. I think we just committed to going.
All right. See you guys. Thanks
man.
for doing this.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for listening to the Process Podcast. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your week. And here's my friend Noah to send us off.
Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. And turn on the notifications button.
Thank you, Noah.